I always thought that my daughter's wedding day would be one of the brightest in my life. When a father sees his child getting married, he should not think about anything but happiness. So I set myself up to forget all worries, all business, all thoughts, except for one thing, so that she would be happy. Her name was Alina. Since childhood, she was a bright, trusting child who believed people so sincerely that sometimes it scared her. But I always hoped that in her life she would meet someone who would preserve this sincerity and not destroy it. When she brought her future husband, Artyom, to our house, I looked at him carefully, as all fathers do. I was looking for some hidden features, trying to figure out what kind of person was standing in front of me. At first glance, he's an ordinary guy, polite, well-groomed, smiling, as if a little shy. But my wife, Marina, immediately noticed something strange about him, not obvious, but alarming. She whispered to me afterwards, "It's too smooth." Do you know such people? Those who do everything perfectly, but they have an emptiness inside. I waved it off. After many years of marriage, I should have known that a wife rarely makes mistakes in people. But as a father who saw his daughter's happiness, I didn't want to think badly of the person she chose. And then that day came, the wedding. A large banquet hall, beautifully decorated tables, warm wishes, laughter, music. Everything was going great. Alina was glowing with joy. Artyom was holding her hand, squeezing her fingers a little too tightly, as if showing everyone that she was his. I didn't think much of it at the time, although perhaps I should have. We walked between the tables, congratulated the guests, and laughed at the wedding jokes of the host. I looked at my daughter and thought, well, that's it. Now she's an adult, independent. May she have a better family than many. But towards evening, the first small episode occurred, which, as I later realized, was the beginning of a long chain of alarming signals. I went outside to get some air and talk on the phone, and suddenly I heard a familiar voice somewhere behind the column, Artyom's voice. He spoke in short phrases, irritated, as if in a hurry. I stopped involuntarily. I wasn't listening on purpose. I just heard, "Can you make it?" Yes, after the wedding, there will be money. Get the earliest tickets to Dubai. No, she's not going. What are you doing? Of course there is one. It felt like I'd been hit. What kind of tickets? Why alone? Thoughts flashed like flashes, but I immediately found an excuse. Maybe he's helping someone. Maybe he's going on a business trip and doesn't want to tell Alina about it, so as not to spoil the mood on the wedding day. At that time, I was a world-class expert in self-deception. When I walked back into the gym, Marina looked at me as if she immediately realized that something was wrong. "What happened? What is it?" she asked. "It's nothing. It seemed—" I waved it off. She narrowed her eyes in disbelief, but she didn't push any further, although I could see in her eyes that she sensed something was wrong, too. The celebration continued. Dancing, congratulations, the first dance of the newlyweds. Beautiful, gentle, like in the movies. Everyone was clapping, smiling, and making videos. Artyom looked at Alina as if he loved her with all his heart. I found myself thinking that maybe I really screwed myself up. Maybe I'm just being overly suspicious, but Marina was watching her son-in-law more and more, like a hunter after prey. She noticed how he was constantly checking his phone, how he would step aside to talk, as if he were solving some urgent business that could wait at least until the end of the wedding day. Towards nightfall, when the guests began to disperse, my old friend Sergei came up to me. He was a straightforward, blunt man, but honest. "I'll tell you what," he said, looking at Artyom. "This guy is slippery. If I were you, I wouldn't take my eyes off you. He looks around too often, looks too closely at your house, cars, and watches. There's something of the predator about him." "You're exaggerating," I tried to smile. "I wish I could." He sighed. After that conversation, I couldn't enjoy the evening so relaxed. Scenes that I hadn't paid attention to before began to pop up in my head. How Artyom was interested in my business is too detailed. He asked about the house, the safe, and where we keep our documents. At the time, I thought he was just trying to get to know his family better. Now, everything seemed ominous. The night came to an end. The newlyweds left for the hotel. My wife and I returned home. I was silent the whole way. Marina, too. But before going to sleep, she suddenly said, "You don't like him." Admit it. I was silent for a long time, and then I sighed. I don't know, but there's something. There's something. I heard him talking about tickets to Dubai today, one ticket, and about the money after the wedding. Marina raised her head sharply. Alone? What is it? She asked. Did he say, alone? Yes. She closed her eyes, took a deep breath, and said a phrase that sent a chill through me. So he's been preparing this for a long time. And if he said, there will be money after the wedding, then it looks like he's talking about your money. I wanted to protest, to say that it was impossible, but the words stuck in my throat. Because I've already realized that there are too many coincidences. There are too many oddities. We went to bed, but we couldn't sleep. Marina turned to me and said, we have to be on our guard. I feel that something unpleasant is waiting for us ahead. I looked up at the ceiling, and for the first time in my life, I was scared. Not for myself, but for my daughter, for her trustfulness, for her future. And even then, that night after the wedding, I realized what I thought was the happy beginning of a new family was actually the beginning of a great danger. And we still didn't know how deep it would go. The days after the wedding passed in a blur. Marina and I seemed to be tiptoeing around the house as if everything around us could collapse from any wrong move. I tried to convince myself that what I had heard was just a coincidence, that it was not worth speculating. But the more I tried to believe it, the more I realized that a cold feeling of impending disaster had already settled inside. Meanwhile, Alina was happy. She called us every evening, told us how she and Artyom were arranging their new home, shared the little thing, what they bought, where they put it, who joked about what. She was glowing, and it only made me feel worse. After all, if my darkest suspicions turn out to be true, it will shatter her completely. Marina did not sit idly by. She was watching. I listened. I caught the slightest nuances. I was trying to keep a semblance of calm, even though everything was boiling inside. We didn't discuss Artyom in front of our daughter. We didn't want to interfere until we were sure. But the wariness was growing. The first serious call came on the 4th day. Marina came to my office in the morning when I was just sitting down at my desk. Did you move the documents yesterday? What is it? She asked softly. No, I said, surprised. What documents? The ones in the top drawer. Several folders are not where they usually are. And she hesitated for a second. One of the folders is open. I frowned. I looked into that mailbox 2 days ago when I was checking the contracts, but I definitely remembered that I had closed everything. I have an almost obsessive desire for order, especially in documents. If something is out of place, I notice it right away. We opened the drawer, and I saw, yes, the folders were indeed shifted. The one where the printouts of my bills and contracts from the last year were kept was ajar, but the most annoying thing was that the enclosed pages were lying unevenly, as if someone had been looking through them in a hurry. Are you sure it's not you? I asked, even though I knew I wasn't. Marina shook her head. I'm not even going to look at your papers. And then there was a heavy silence in the room. The only name that came to mind was the one we were both afraid to say out loud. I didn't jump to conclusions. I sat down, flipped through the folders, checked if there were any missing items. Everything seemed to be in place, but the anxiety wouldn't go away. On the contrary, it intensified. And then Marina suggested, let's see the cameras. There were several cameras in the house, not because we were afraid of thieves, but rather out of habit. It's a big house, lots of rooms, and sometimes it's convenient to see what's going on while we're gone. I opened the notes, and 10 minutes later, we were sitting in complete silence, as if we'd been given a verdict. The footage from last night clearly shows Artyom entering our house. He came ostensibly for a minute to pick up things from Alina that she had forgotten and documents for registration. That's what he said. But on camera, everything is different. He walked past the guest room, entered the office. He took out his phone. I started photographing pages from that folder, then another one, and more. He worked quickly, confidently, knowing exactly where what he needed was. Marina sat with her hand over her mouth. I felt a wave of cold rage wash over me. It wasn't a grudge, not a surprise. It was like someone came into your house through an open door, smiled in your face, and at the same time quietly pulled out the most valuable thing from behind your back. There he is, Marina whispered. His real appearance. She was right. I understood that not everything had been proven yet. Maybe he was just curious. But no. My daughter's husband, who takes pictures of my father-in-law's bank documents alone at night. It's not curiosity. It's a criminal interest. Nevertheless, we decided not to take hasty steps. First, we need to get the full picture. Marina suggested one more step. Let's look at his social media. It's an unusual place to look for the truth, but sometimes people tell you what they need. We looked at it. Everything looked perfect on his page. Photos with Alina, beautiful captions, romance. But Marina noticed one thing, the list of his subscriptions, several strange accounts, expensive hotels in Dubai, pages of realtors who sell real estate for cryptocurrency, fast flight services, and all this in recent weeks. A coincidence? No. It was a continuation of the conversation at the wedding that I had heard. Dubai. Money after the wedding, one ticket. Then Marina said a phrase that made my stomach turn cold. He prepared it in advance. I knew that after the wedding I would have access to the house, to you, to documents. And he calculated everything. He didn't just want to steal something. He wanted to rob you completely. I was silent, because there was nothing to argue with. The next day, another thing happened. Alina came to us unexpectedly to bring us a cake that was left over from their family evening. She was happy, chattering about how they were planning to make repairs, that Artyom had finally found some important project that would bring money. Marina and I exchanged glances. What kind of project? I asked as calmly as possible. I don't know, Alina smiled. He said he didn't want to tell me yet. I'm afraid to jinx it. I felt something inside me tighten into a knot. When she left, Marina said softly, he's using her. He draws her into his game, but she doesn't see anything. I watched my daughter's car go and thought, if we tell her the truth now, she won't believe it. Just think. She'll think that we just didn't accept her husband, that we're jealous, that we're interfering. And the worst part is that it would have been. That's why we decided. We'll wait, but we'll be ready. On the 5th day, everything finally fell into place. I received a notification from the bank, an unsuccessful attempt to log into my personal account. I tried using my laptop, but I wasn't home at the time. And in the evening, when I returned, I noticed that the laptop lid was slightly ajar, although I had left it closed. It was the last piece of the puzzle. I no longer doubted that Artyom was going to open my accounts. Marina said, we have to stop him, but first we have to collect evidence, full ones, so that he doesn't wriggle out later. And then we decided, we're waiting for him to make a move. Let him try. Let him get caught, and then neither he nor the lawyers nor anyone else will be able to say that we have slandered him. For the first time in my life, I was afraid of my own silence. I was afraid for my daughter, for her trust. But there was no choice. We had to catch him red-handed, and the night when it happened was almost at hand. There came an evening that I will remember for a long time later, not because it was scary, but because everything in it came together. My suspicions, our observations, his mistake, his greed, and our patience. It was the night when the masks finally came off. Marina and I had agreed in advance not to interfere until he made a move on his own. Until we see his hands on my documents, on my computer, on my future. Only then will we have the right to tell our daughter the truth in a way that she believes, and so that he wouldn't be able to get out. Marina was especially tense that day. She was walking around the house, opening the curtains, closing them, checking the cameras, as if trying to make sure we were really ready. I was sitting in my office, sorting through papers, pretending to be busy. Actually, I was just waiting. Everything was boiling inside. The plan was simple. We knew Artyom would come. He had to come. His previous attempts to log into my personal account, his disturbing calls, his behavior, everything indicated that he would not stop. His plan was calculated down to the smallest detail, and he would not wait. He had to finish what he started, and he came. Alina called around 8 o'clock in the evening. Dad, I'll be with you tomorrow. Artyom is going to get to work today, and I want to sort out some presents. Is everything okay with you? Her voice was calm, unsuspecting. I found myself barely able to answer. It's okay, daughter, I said. See you tomorrow. When she hung up, Marina looked at me as if she wanted to say, "She doesn't know. She doesn't know anything at all." And it was true. An hour later, the doorbell rang. "It must be Artyom," Marina said, and we both froze. It flashed through my head. This is it. It started. I went downstairs and opened the door. He stood on the threshold, confident, well-groomed, wearing expensive perfume, with the face of a man who did not come to visit, but as a host who came for his own. "Good evening," he said, too politely. "I'm going to get the documents I was talking about. Alina forgot something at your place." "Come in," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. He went inside, and I noticed right away that his gaze didn't linger on either Marina or me. He looked at the hallway, at the office, at the stairs. He came exactly on business. When he walked towards the office, Marina squeezed my hand lightly. "Now," I read in her eyes. We lingered in the hallway, giving him time. 10, 20, 30 seconds. Then I quietly went to the office. The door was ajar. It's semi-dark inside. I looked in and saw what I was waiting for, and what tore my soul at the same time. Artyom was sitting at my desk. My laptop is in front of him. My bank card is in my hand. He looked at the screen, entered the data, checked something with the photos he had taken in advance. He worked intently, hurriedly, but no longer hiding. He was sure that it was only him and his victim in the house who didn't suspect anything. I went inside without making a sound. Marina followed. She was already holding the phone in her hands. The recording was on. "I wonder what you're doing with my card, Artyom," I said. He flinched as abruptly as if he had been electrocuted. He turned around. His face turned white. He began to search for words instantly. I wanted to ask, you said that. Did I tell you?" I was surprised. "Interesting. Why did you come into my office at night, a week ago, or the day before yesterday? Or was he trying to log into my personal account through my laptop today?" He swallowed. It was obvious that the brain was working at full capacity, making up excuses. "This is a mistake. That's all." But Marina stepped forward, calmly, cold. "All this is on our cameras, and now you're sitting at your desk, entering data on the website, trying to transfer money. Don't you dare say it's a misunderstanding?" Artyom fell silent. His face was mottled red, then pale. He realized that there were no exits. "You've got it all wrong," he tried again. "I thought—" "He wanted to steal it," I said. "We know." At that moment, for the first time, he raised his eyes to us, not as a son-in-law, not as a person whom we accepted into the family, but as a criminal who understands that he has been caught. And there was something dangerous in his gaze, squeamish, evil. "What do you know?" "What is it?" he hissed suddenly. "Everything has been easy for you all your life. You have a house, money, and a business. What about me? What should I do? I had nothing. You hold everything in your hands as if the world around you is a toy. Yes, I wanted to take my own, at least something. And yes, I wanted to leave. Why not? You wouldn't even notice." Marina froze. His words were like a blow, not because he blamed us, but because he finally stopped pretending. It was the real Artyom, greedy, envious, dangerous. "Alina didn't know anything," I said quietly. "You used her." He twitched. "She would only get in the way," he said sharply. "She's weak, naive. You can't build anything with it." Marina sobbed, not from pain, but from rage. I came closer. "Everything you said just now is written down, and what you've been doing too. We'll give Alina everything. We'll call the police too. You made your own choice." His face contorted. "You wouldn't dare!" "Already," I said. I took out my phone and dialed the police number. And at that moment, Artyom realized that it was over. He rushed to the door, but Marina stood at the aisle, a small, fragile woman who at that moment looked stronger than any man. He stopped because he knew he couldn't push her. This will only make his situation worse. The police arrived quickly. He tried to explain something, to justify himself, but it was all in vain. The records, the cameras, the facts, everything was against him. They took him away. When the door closed behind them, I took a deep breath for the first time in several days, and then Marina, sitting on a chair, whispered, "Now the hardest thing remains, to tell Alina." I knew it. This conversation will be more painful than all the previous ones, but she must hear the truth. After Artyom was taken away, the house was plunged into silence. It's not that quiet, homely, cozy silence when the clock is humming softly in the room. No. It was the silence after the storm, the one that makes your ears ring, the one in which it is impossible to hide from thoughts. I was sitting in my office, looking at the open laptop, at the documents he was trying to steal, and I felt like a winner and a loser at the same time. Yes, we stopped him. Yes, we have collected the evidence. But deep down, I knew that the most terrifying ordeal lay ahead. We had to tell Alina everything, and no matter how I prepared myself, I understood. She's going to take it hard. It's too hard. Marina was sitting next to him with her hands on the table, clenching his fingers so tightly that his knuckles turned white. "Will it break?" "What is it?" she asked, almost in a whisper. "No," I said. "She's stronger than she looks. But it's going to hurt. Very." We sat late into the night, silent, each in his own thoughts, and only in the morning I texted my daughter, "Come, we need to talk. It's important." She arrived around noon. She was cheerful, with packages, with some gifts that she and Artyom had recently bought. There's a smile on his face. There is light in the eyes. She entered the house, not noticing our anxious glances. "Hello?" "Well, what can we talk about? You're so serious." I felt my stomach tighten. It was the most frustrating thing to see her happy, unaware that the light would go out in a few minutes. "Alina," I said softly, "let's sit down." She stopped, frowned, but was still smiling. "Mom? Dad, what happened?" Marina took her hand. I saw that she was trembling, and then I started telling him, not all at once, not abruptly. I told him about the night at the wedding when I heard a conversation about tickets to Dubai, about Artyom's strange behavior, about the documents that were touched, about the cameras, about hacking attempts, and finally about last night. At first, Alina just listened. Her face was expressionless, empty. Then his eyebrows began to tremble. Then her eyes filled with tears. "Dad, that's enough," she whispered. "That's not true. This is a mistake. He wouldn't do that." Marina squeezed her hand tighter. "My daughter, we have everything written down." I turned on the recording, the one where he was sitting in my office, entering the data, and then the one where he shouted that she was weak and would get in the way. Those words were like a knife. Alina squeezed her eyes shut, pressed her hands to her face, and softly repeated, "It's not him. It's not him. It's not him." And then the tears, the kind that can't be stopped, not neat, not quiet, but deep, desperate ones, the ones that come from the very heart. I wanted to say something soothing, but I couldn't, because no words will help here, none at all. Marina hugged her, long, strongly, and I could see that she was hurting just as much. When Alina finally managed to breathe evenly, she said, I want to see him." "He's already been arrested," I said, "and while he's under investigation, you'd better not talk to him. This is not just a setup. He stole a part of your life. He used you. And then he was going to run away." Alina jerked her head up. "Escape? Alone?" "Yes," I said. "The ticket was only for him." She moved away, and for the first time, there was no pain in her eyes, but rage. "It's clean. Deaf. The righteous one. He, betrayed me," she whispered. "From the beginning?" Marina replied. "Yes. He didn't come to our family out of love. He came from calculation." After these words, Alina did not cry anymore. She seemed petrified, and she said a phrase that I will never forget. "Dad, Mom, thank you for saving me." And I didn't see anything. I touched her shoulder. "Because you're kind, and you believe people. It's not a weakness, it's a power, and one day that power will be seen by someone who is worthy of you." She squeezed my hand, and for the first time, she met my gaze. "I love you, and I can handle it." The following weeks were difficult. Interrogations, investigation, documents. Artyom was accused under several articles, and the evidence was irrefutable. He tried to get out of it. He said that we had slandered him, that it was a mistake, that the recording was forged. But the cameras, the time, the login logs, the hacking attempts, everything came together in a clear picture. Alina did not go to him even once. I didn't write it. She didn't call. She cut the thread herself, hard, right, and it hurts. A month later, she came to us, made tea, sat down at the table and said, "I want to file for divorce. The sooner the better." And I realized my girl was saved. Not because of us, not because of the cameras. It's because she found the courage to face the truth. Time has passed, she's changed, she's grown up. She became calmer, more serious. But there was a light in her eyes again, a quiet, soft one. Not naive, but conscious. One evening she said to me, "Dad, I used to think that family is when you trust unconditionally, but now I understand. Family is when you are protected even from what you don't see." And I realized it wasn't a family defeat. It was her reinforcement. We've lost the illusion, but we saved the most important thing, each other.